So, for those of you that have not already looked at the lineup, we have 10 incredible speakers. And I would like to introduce the first. Actually, I would like to introduce the assistant to the first speaker. King Samu will be sharing a few words with us. Has he arrived? Okay, I would like to invite you to the stage, please, Rex.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. My name is Rex Sumner, and some of you may recognize that name from Facebook, and yes, I am the snake catcher of Ubud. But today, I'm not here to show you snakes, but I'm here in my position as the personal assistant to Raja Samu, who is the king of Nusa Laut, which is in the Malukus, which is part of Indonesia, because as some people think that Indonesia is just Bali, but it actually stretches east to west further than New York to California. And it's pretty deep as well, so it's a huge country when we consider it. It's our Tanah Air kita, our land and sea. And there used to be 500 kings in Indonesia at independence. We're left with 280 still together. Raja Samu has perhaps the oldest bloodline of kings of any in Indonesia. It stretches back into mythology. According to the myth, it goes back to Noah. He's a direct descendant of Noah through his eldest son. The interesting thing about him, from your point of view, is he is the leader of a race of people who were sea people. Their people ruled an empire that stretched from Madagascar to America 3,500 years ago, called Ilaga Ligo, that you've never heard of. And how did these people traverse the great wastes of the ocean without a compass, without maps? And the answer is in spirituality. Having that link to the divine, to the ultimate, being able to trace their route across the trackless wastes and arrive immediately in the right spot, which was rather useful for them, as most of them were pirates and conquerors and things of this nature. But the only people who had the skill to take them across the sea were their navigators, who became their kings, their leaders. And Raja Samu is a direct descendant from thousands of years of these people, and it's an inherited spiritual skill. Now I want to talk to you briefly about kings and show you some of the difference of the kings here. I don't know, many of you may be Americans and you don't know what kings are, but have we got Europeans here? Are there any Europeans here? Well, you know what kings and queens are. They're these terrible people who became king or queen by murdering loads of people, and anybody who disagreed with them, off with their head. That is the European way of a king or queen. Might is right. In Indonesia, kings were different. The kings here could only become king with God's grace through spirituality. How does one gain spirituality? Well, normally, Indonesian kings would go and sit in a cave for 10 years and meditate and come out close to God. How do you know whether somebody is close to God? How do you know if your king is spiritual? They care about the people. Think about it. How many European kings did we have who cared about the people? Give them cake, said Marie Antoinette, before they cut her head off. Because they didn't care, they only cared about themselves. And that's the difference with kings in Indonesia. They care about their people, or they are not a king. Their spiritualness and their love shines through. And now you're going to have speaking to you what the Secretary General of the Association of Indonesian Kings, the man who can speak for Indonesia, who is changing Indonesia for the better, who has a well thought out plan to change things here, despite all the oppression that still exists, and overcoming the ages of the Sahata period, which were interesting. Let's leave it at that. So let's consider the positive. Let's consider the man who doesn't sleep at night. Instead, he is spiritually looking after his people. His people are Christian. He is a Muslim. He doesn't care. He looks after them at night. So would we please welcome Raja Samu of Nusa Laut.
Good afternoon to all of you. You is my love. I am Raja Samu 16 Van Koning Istanbul from Maluku. My full name Upulatu ML Beni Ahmad Samu. Like as Rex had explained about maybe a little story about my kingdom and myself. But please apologize me if my English not good. Firstly, I am very excited and would like to thank for the honorary invitation to attend the Conscious Society event. My presence here to provide full morally and spiritual to support the Conscious Society. What will and has been done by the Conscious Society is almost the same as what the king did. Because to be a king must be able to do spiritual, should have the power of magic and ready to face to judge the enemy only, but should be able to follow to development of the technology in this world. Before, I always give help to other people with spiritual and medical treatment outside. Like many way and technique of the Conscious Society does. For the example, maybe you can be open of the Google, you can searching my name is Raja Samu 6. You can see about anything about me, include of the like as the magic or spirit when the Kick Andy Metro TV of Jakarta, the international television, to kick me and any tragedy in the Metro TV. I trust and believe with this activity of the Conscious Society, everyone who led and its member will be able to provide the best solution for them and for the world. I am Raja Samu 6 to support the Conscious Society mission to create a global society of the people that care for each other and this planet. I am Raja Samu Samu 6 to support the conscious society vision for a world without a problem. From here, I am Raja Samu Samu. Look forward to giving blessing to all that attend and to congratulations and success at the implementation of the conscious society. Who principles? I ask my younger brother, Willian, would you like come and please explain about the principle of the conscious?
Truth, love, and unity.
Thank you. This is the same philosophy as Indonesia, namely Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, is the same unity in diversity. And just like a title song, We Are the One by Michael Jackson. Thank you. Maybe for stand by me with you. Thank you and congratulations for this event. And the last, my word, I love you all. Thank you, Raja Samu Samu Nam. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your blessings and your presence. You want the center stage again?
I'm very, very sorry to all of you. Sometimes I'm is not sometimes, but I is the same human like you. When I have a spirit to speak to support of this event, I forgot about a little. And I beg standing on front of you, I would like ask to my younger brother William, please. You can see, please take the picture. You can see what happened front of you, you know?
We have a slight problem with his shirt here, Raja.
I am King of Samu Samu. I am Raja Samu Samu 6 of the last of Koning Istanbul. I am as the General Secretary of Board of Silatnas Raja Sultan of Nusantara, Indonesia. I put this speech endorsement from President Republic Indonesia. I put this speech to you as family, royal family of Nusantara. William, Blakey.
Daniela? No? Daniel? Daniel Raphael? Sorry. Vanessa? Saya ingat bawah. Raja yang dulu.
I'm Raja Samu 6, the Stefan Koningstambul Maluku. I put this pin to you, Vanessa. You are is our royal family of Nusantara. Excuse me.
Dakota? Is Dakota here?
Dakota. Where are you from, Dakota?
From nearby Dakota.
Very American.
America, yes. Because I know Dakota is in America.
They are Aboriginal people.
Okay, Dakota. I trust you read from the Willian. I hope you see, and Rex will be explain about this emblem, about this pin. I am Raja Samu 6, the last of Koningstambul Maluku. I put this pin for you, Dakota, as member or family, royal family of Nusantara. Okay.
Lucinda? Lucinda not here?
I want to give American flag. Daniel, you are my brother. We the skin, the same skin.
The baby somewhere.
Oh,
He's asking where my son and his mom are.
It was really the son that wanted to get
Exactly, yeah.
maybe you can explain about your life.
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to speak to these beautiful people. The king is asking me to explain to you guys just the connectedness that we all have with each other, but specifically when we bring things into this realm through our dreams and our intuition. And Gemma had a dream. Gemma is my son's mom, and she had a dream of Samu, and she mentioned it to me the other day and said that she is meant to sit with the king and do a healing with him. And so he's asking me to mention that story to you. So thank you for, yes.
We are not, I am with him, but we are his family. We are his brother and sister. We are his one. Today, I give you the same, maybe for all. Continue. I put this pin for you, Michael. You are is my family. You are is royal family of Nusantara also, right?
Thank you.
The Raja would like me to explain to you that in addition to some of his other spiritual powers, he's actually a weather mage, which is not surprising when you consider his ancestry. Indeed, the military in Indonesia, whenever they have a parade, call upon the Raja to make sure it doesn't rain on their parade. And on one never-to-be-forgotten occasion, a general who didn't respect the Raja and tended to be a bit rude to him, asked him to come along and be there, and then ignored him until it got too hot and the soldiers started to faint. So he said to the Raja, "Would you please cool the weather down?" in a very derogatory way. And the Raja went into a tent, and according to the Raja, it was because he couldn't see how many clouds he had summoned. But the storm which came within 10 minutes actually caused the parade to be called off. I'm sure that's no coincidence, it's nothing to do with his dislike for this particular general who was in charge. So the Raja just thought you'd like to know he's also made it the effort to, while he's here, make sure it doesn't rain on this parade.
Rain in the Amazon forest right now.
That might be a little bit far. We can ask the Raja later to lead a prayer for the Amazon forest. But first of all, I think we need to do something for Lucinda.
When the California or American any fire, I have friend Jonathan Nitolo. Joy Nitolo. I told to him, Joy, please you come to the government in America. I can be praying from Indonesia to stop to call the rain to come in America. I said, but I don't know. He's sick.
I think he's better now.
So for all of you, I am open, not for in the front of you, but to all of you. If you need something, you can call me. My telephone 24-hour online. Inshallah, I try to help to all of you. Rex is my assistant. Many my assistant in Bali, in America also. Like as where is Ina? Ina? Yes, Ina is from Russia. Ukraine is my assistant also, and many from Japan, Australia, many people. So I said is all of you is my family. When I said only one word, you are is my family. No change. Thank you. Excuse me. I forgot. I give you this. Still. Lucinda. Lucinda, this pin, the last pin on my pocket. But I bring more of this pin, right? And recommended by William and Vanessa, you are is join in the conscious society. I'm support this, and now I put this bill for you as member and family of Royal Nusantara. Excuse me. Or maybe for you, I'm sometimes Indonesian feel I cannot touch.
It's a bit too much, isn't it, Raja?
I won, but I cannot front of you. Okay. Yeah, like as last night Daniel said with me, Raja, if you want to make love, don't you say to make love. So, investment. Okay, thank you very much to all of you, and apology me if my word is any something wrong or not good. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello. Oh, hello. 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 Hi. Hi. For those of you you don't know me, my name is Vanessa. I'm the co-founder of CoUni, and I'd like to take a little moment to explain to you a little bit more about what CoUni is, who we are, what we do, and why. So CoUni is an online platform for spiritual self-development. It's also a social media platform, and it's also a cryptocurrency. It's a space where you as a leader can share your knowledge, your skills, your information, your courses, anything that you have that can benefit another person, and run your entire online business in one place. It's also a place where you as a reader can access information, people, events, technology, anything that you need to solve any problems that you're facing and heighten your human experience. It's also a place where we want to financially reward everyone, both readers and leaders, for choosing enlightenment, for choosing to be a part of a better world. So that's our online model. But why? Why are we doing this? What's the driving force behind it? And there's many reasons, but one of the main ones is we want as many people as possible to be aware of the fact that there is a solution to every problem that we're facing today in the world. For any problem, there is a solution. It's just a matter of bringing the right people together, connecting the dots, having the right people exchanging the right type of information, and then taking the relevant actions that naturally follow afterwards. There is no more need for pain and suffering, poverty, war, disease, mass destruction. We have the resources and the technology necessary to create heaven on earth. And we want as many people as possible to know this on a deep, deep, deep level and have the ability to choose to be a part of that reality, of a reality that will be heaven on earth. And we're already experiencing glimpses of it, just like today. It's a very heavenish day, I think. So it's possible, you just have to choose. So we want to invite as many people as possible to know that you can be a part of heaven on earth. I also want you to know that today is not just a one-off event. Today is not just a one-off experience and then you'll go home and you'll be like, oh, that was nice, and then you continue. If you wish to be a part of this and you wish to be a part of our platform, you will continue to experience the positive ripple effects of today. Because today is the start of a movement, which is the conscious society. And whether you know it or not, you're already part of it because you exist, you are alive, you're breathing, you are conscious. Everyone is conscious. There's no hierarchy, there's no we're up there, you're down there. We're all the same. We're all one big family together. So the conscious society is just going to keep going and going and going and going, and we can all be a part of it. But you might be wondering, what is that? What will that look like? Or what does that entail? And that leads me to introducing our next speaker, which you have already seen. Blakey. He also has a couple other names. Sometimes the universe, sometimes the Tao. He has a few nicknames. But before allowing him to share a special message, I also want to take a moment to thank him. Can you come here for a second? Because I don't want to have my back to you. Yeah. I know. Suits you. Thanks. I want to thank you for your persistence, for your hard work, for your ability to show clarity when there's chaos, for your ability to just be when it's hard not to. And I want to thank you for co-creating this with me. And for creating an outlet for where our shared thoughts, dreams, and visions can manifest and come true. Not just mine and yours, but also eventually what will be humanity's. I also want to share one little thing. When I was a child, I had this dream. I didn't grow up with much, but I was grateful for my childhood, but I was also always dreaming of one day having a big house and having all my friends and family come over and just have this, just experience bliss together. And today I'm in a mansion with some of the most amazing people that I know, and I couldn't be more grateful. And I wouldn't have been able to manifest this all by myself. So I want to thank you for manifesting this with me, but I also want to thank all of you for being here today, because you're all such important pieces of the puzzle, each and single one of you. So I also want to extend my gratitude to everyone who's chosen to be here today. Thank you very much.
So beautiful. Can you take a seat? So I will share a few words about the Conscious Society and about the movement. You've already said it so well, that it's a society that includes everybody globally. Conscious has been branded a term for those that have reached self-actualization, some level of awareness that others haven't, which is actually a form of separation in itself, so those people aren't actually that conscious by their own definition. But its true definition of is self-awareness, and everything is self-aware. All of you, beautiful people, and all of the people on this planet, but it goes deeper than that, right down to the grain of sand, or all the way up to the universe itself. The universe is conscious. So, this society is inclusive of everybody. And when we operate from a place of unconditional love, of acceptance, of truth, trust, faith, patience, clarity, and decisiveness, there is never a moment of rejection. It's just the universe redirecting you towards acceptance. And in that moment of acceptance, we are all one. So, to those of you that already understand this intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, please continue to share what you know. Conscious Universe is a platform to do that. The Conscious Society is a platform for you to invite others to align with our intentions, to remove the barriers. And ultimately, the end vision of this movement is a world where every single human being is born into an environment where their basic needs are met. And for a long time, I've been looking outside of myself for a leader or a group of leaders that are working towards this solution. They are out there, but are not cohesive. They are not working as one. They are not sharing their resources. And that's what the conscious society is. I'm all in. All of my resources are going into this. And I invite everyone that really wants to walk the talk, really wants to make a difference on this planet while they're here, while they're living, while they're breathing, to be all in. I've been dreaming about it for so long, but I've been afraid. What if I run out? What if I don't have enough? But what if the planet doesn't have enough? So we're going to have some speakers shortly talking about technology that enables this to actualize in reality, for us to collectively bring our resources together, to make proposals for solutions, to vote on those solutions, and when passed, to automatically distribute resources to actualizing those problems, those solutions. Sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. So on that note, I would like to invite the man who has inspired me to understand this technology. It is you, Dakota Kaiser, the President of Earth Nation. So please give a round of applause for Dakota.
Can we all take 3 deep breaths together? So deep breath in. Yeah, a little more exuberance on the next one, if you will. And one more. Yeah, I'd love to just hear a round of applause for Will, Conscious Society again. Yeah, such an honor to be here speaking to you all. I'm kind of curious, how many of us recognize that we do, in fact, today have access to every solution for every individual, collective, national and international challenge or crisis or problem that we're dealing with today? Do we have those solutions? Do you recognize that? Are you a little unsure about it? Let me see what you got. All right, I think we've got about half the crowd that's in awareness of that. So that's most of what I want to talk to you about today. What are some of these solutions? How are they being used and shared? How are they being propagated? Little background story. I've been involved for 11 years now in the building, development, and connection of the Earth Nation, which is an international alliance of positive change organizations and peoples dedicated to finding, developing, and sharing solutions for every challenge and problem known to the human race. We're basically a superheroes club, a humanitarian activist-oriented group, and we do a lot in the world of business because it's the most effective means of creating real change. We do see ourselves as an international alternative government. We are in a very long process of obtaining full international recognition of ourselves as such, and we do a lot of stuff, way more than I can get into in this 15-minute slot that I have. So, I'd love to just share with you all a few of the more spectacular solutions that we found. I'm going to work from meta-scale in to individual scale. So, meta-scale solution, Carbon Cycle. It's a company that is franchise-like, so people can make investments into it, people can buy their own branch facility. We produce these facilities, and what these facilities do is they use an advanced form of pyrolysis technology to take all of our trash and turn it into diesel fuel, other kinds of oil, and about as much energy as a nuclear power plant without producing any emissions at all. So we're able to convert what is one of our biggest problems on the planet, especially here in Bali, trash is a major problem. And we're able to take this thing that's just been this massive problem that no one knows what to do with. It's so expensive to deal with. And we're actually able to convert that into something that's worth more than gold. And we're able to do it at mass scale, as many metric tons per hour as is needed to process. And it is an incredibly profitable system. In the United States of America, our Ava, Missouri facility is producing about 95% annual return on investment, meaning that 10 million in resulting in about 9.5 million back every year like clockwork, because we get paid for the trash, we get paid for the oil, we get paid for the energy. And that's a common reoccurring theme with our enterprise mass scale solutions, that these solutions are in fact extremely profitable, as well as doing something that is solving a major systemic issue in the world. Next company, Pesco. Pesco is 25 years old. They're the oldest conglomerate business group within the Earth Nation Alliance. They have 36 branches worldwide, and they use another proprietary form of pyrolysis technology to clean oils and solvents. 27 forms of oils and solvents. Almost every dirty thing that comes out of any car, boat, plane, train, or manufacturing facility, we're able to take it, we're able to convert it into clean versions thereof. And it takes us about a quarter to a third of the cost and the energy to clean oil and solvents as opposed to making new ones. I don't know if many of you are well educated on this, but dirty oil and solvents is actually one of the greatest environmental pollutants in our world. What happens very often is there are companies that come about and their job is to store these dirty substances in vats, usually in underground vaults. Over 10, 20, 50, 100 years, a lot of these companies go out of business, the thing shuts down, and now there is no one to be liable for all that dirty substance, and eventually it leaks into our environment. So now we're able to take, again, what is one of our most major environmental problems and turn it into one of our most highly desired resources. And, if any of you are familiar with fracking, these two companies combined, when applied at scale across the world, will completely eliminate our need to frack ever again. There are far more than enough oil already available on the surface of the planet. We really don't need to drill for any more of it. I just want to talk a little bit more about what pyrolysis is in the context of these two particular solutions. Pyrolysis is basically when you take a substance, almost anything other than, it doesn't really work very well for glass or metal, rocks either, doesn't do too well under heat, but everything else, all kinds of plastic, all kinds of ag waste, all kinds of everything you've ever put into your trash can for the most part. And we put it into a chamber. It's an airtight chamber, vacuum sealed. We then heat it, usually over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And what happens is the substance demolecularizes, and then the elements can be put back together into things like fuel, biochar, etc. Let's take a deep breath into all that. How am I doing on time? Timekeeper? All right, great. Another one of my favorite mass scale solutions is eco-built. So we've taken the leading edge of pyramid and dome building structures. We've combined that with the leading edge of vertical growing, hydroponic growing, water structuring technology, automated climate control, LED lighting, and right now are in fact working on a 100% automated line of high-density organic food production. This addresses many different issues, but the first one being that the cost of growing organic greens in these facilities is about 15 cents on the pound. So really bringing the cost of organic food down. The facilities are way less time intensive once they're set up than traditional row by row farming, and when the automated suite is out, it'll take no time at all for people that want that. Another major thing happening right now is that we have used so much glyphosate on this planet. It is in the sky, it's in the air, and even fully organic crops, if they have traditional rainwater that hits them, actually have way more than just trace elements and amounts of glyphosate, pretty much no matter where they're grown in the entire world, though there are parts of the world with less amounts of glyphosate than other parts, obviously. But when they're grown inside of a greenhouse, there is no glyphosate, so it's like the next level of organic. I see the majority of the food for health-conscious people being produced in greenhouses. And it just so happens that farmers that are using traditional ag methods in most countries in the world can actually make way more money with way less effort by switching over into eco-built food production systems. So that's another third one. It's pretty cool. That particular technology also drastically decreases our cost to solve world hunger. It comes out to about $250 billion, all costs included, including security, which is actually a major part of that cost, for us to basically knock out world hunger pretty much forever after that. Another one of our solutions on an enterprise level is called the chrysalis model. And this kind of ties directly into our individual solutionary stack I'm going to segue into from this. And actually, I'll start with the personal solution and then explain the enterprise solution from that perspective. So, as we all know, health is a major thing for a lot of people in the world. There's a massive percentage of humans that are suffering from one kind of physical illness, mental or emotional illness, or another. And for me, what I've found is that the human body is one of the most remarkable constructs I've ever studied or known, if not the most remarkable. And that when we give our bodies what it actually needs and wants, our body is capable of healing itself of almost anything and everything. And so, proactive health measures are a big deal. And what we're eating is a big deal. And there are very specific technologies that have come out that treat the blood, that treat the body, that apply different vibrations and different levels of nutrients and different levels of cleansing to the body. And we have found 27 of these technologies that are available as part of our chrysalis medical care model. And we have also found out in the United States how to bill insurance companies for the treatment, thus providing real health care to really help heal people free of charge to them if they have medical insurance, which is great. Works even for medical care. Medicare. Yeah, that's a really big piece on the individual level, actually sharing these technologies, which there's some very sci-fi, sophisticated stuff out there, but there's also very old knowledge. Chinese Ayurvedic lore had it down on how to eat, how to cleanse, how to breathe, and be in a way where health issues are a thing that just doesn't really happen when you're in those states of being. So now segueing into more of the personal set. So health is a really big one, right? Another really big epidemic we're seeing on this planet is just a lack of happiness, a lack of purpose, fulfillment, and connection. I personally believe all these things are very, very deeply interwoven as like basically one big problem that a lot of us are facing. So in the Earth Nation, we've been working with finding and connecting and networking many of the different leading life coaches, therapists, and also practitioners of a very wide diversity of modalities that have been proven to be very effective for a wide variety of people. We've also networked with now 3,000 intentional communities worldwide that you can visit. Some of them you can work trade at, some of them you can buy into, and all of them that you can go and have an amazing experience at, like we're having today, an opportunity, a place for you and for us to find each other and more like minds and connect and really build our pool of people that we can really feel connected to. So that's been a big part of our work, really finding all those places, vetting them. Another really major component, an individual oriented challenge or problem for a lot of people today is access to finances. So a lot of us are doing things we'd rather not be doing for money, right? So we are still actively working on building something of an international university where we can give people a full spectrum of education, which then leads into priority access hiring for the network of for-benefit businesses that we already have. So really assisting people in finding a really good role, doing something they love and making a good amount of money with it, is a solution that we're about 70% close to finishing. It's one of our last ones to kind of button up in the next few years. There's another side of that where for people that already have access to a certain amount of abundance and flow, we assist people in learning about opportunities in some of these scalable, fractalable businesses that are highly profitable and solving major systemic issues so that people can put money to work so they don't have to work anymore. Our portfolio has averaged 30% annually and up for the last 2 years. And some of our returns have hit upwards of 200%. So anyone that is able to amass 50 to 100K, there's a strong likelihood of being able to put that money to work and never having to work again yourself. Which is, for me personally, and for many of us in the Earth Nation, extremely ideal, because it frees us to not being able to have to work for money anymore, and we can just do what we love, and if we get paid doing what we love, that's great too. We put that money to good work as well. But it is not the focal point of our lives any longer. Just take a deep breath into that. And then zooming out again, even farther than the enterprise level solutions. What the Earth Nation in and of itself is, that Will was kind of just leading into. We utilize decentralized autonomous organizational principles to come together as an international community of people that all want the same thing, more or less. We all would like a better world to live in. We'd all like a better experience for ourselves, for our family. We would all like to be proud of the world we're leaving behind. And what we've pioneered and designed and learned from and tested is a series of different ways of relating, where any community, any group of people in the world can choose to relate together with these systems in a way where now, instead of just coming together and sharing our hearts and our words, we can actually start sharing our knowledge. We can start sharing our intelligence. We can start sharing our land and our resources. Whatever it is that we each individually have to share, that we want to share, that we like sharing for the benefit of ourselves and for all. And we've enabled and tested and created and actively, freely share this system of tools, including digital tools, including legal tools, including social tools, including economic tools, including currency tools, including business-oriented tools, including land development-oriented tools, including many other tools besides that I could talk about with you guys for a good 3 hours if you wanted to learn about our full decentralized autonomous organizational toolkit. But I don't quite have time for that today. So I just wanted to hedge on that these things are here, you have access to them, and I would be so honored to be of service to you and more fully embodying your passion and purpose on this world. Thanks.
Wow. So I'm going to invite everyone to take a deep breath in. And wiggle it all out. Just create some space for all that information to come in. I'm feeling so inspired. Thank you, Dakota. Thank you, guys. Thank you for creating this space and this day. Co-creating. So, we have an amazing list of speakers. I'd like to invite a very dear brother up on the stage next. Reiki. Hey love, I haven't seen you in ages.
I know.
That's all right. So, these dear friends of mine are going to talk to you about... Going to bring their form of love into our universe too. So without me taking up too much of the time on the stage, can you give a big hand of applause, please? Reiki.
Hi guys, thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It looks like you're getting a little bit tired, so I just want to get you to stand up for a second and just kind of shake. Let's get this energy into the earth. We got some big concepts for you, so I need you mentally clear. Great, so let's take some big deep breaths in, filling up the belly, And maybe just reach way up to the sky. What a gorgeous day. Look at the weather, you guys. Look at this blessing. It's amazing, right? So just shake if you feel like it. What do we got in there? What do we want to get out? Cool. All right, so if you want to continue standing for this presentation, you are more than welcome, but if you'd like to have a seat, go for it. So I just want to start this talk off with a little bit of gratitude. So we all live in this technological age where we have a cell phone basically on us at all times. And if you could just think about what it would be like to live without your cell phone, right? Like, we've been so accustomed to this for so many years now that we have everything from our planners, our agendas, our emails, our ways of communicating all on this device. And so we thought, how can we use this device that we all have that's not going anywhere, let's be honest, we're not going to stop using this technology. How can we take this and use it to support our planet, support the generation of our planet? And so we've come up with a multi-dimensional idea that is called seeds. So I'm going to give the microphone over to my partner Reiki to explain what seeds is, how it will work, and how you can use it from your phone.
Thank you. Feel free to sit down too if you guys would like. I'll start this off with a journey. Several years ago, an economist and anthropologist were studying different cultures across the globe to see how many hours a day they had to work and how many hours a week they had to put into working in order to meet their basic needs. And they had found themselves in the Kalahari Desert. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it's one of the harshest climates on our planet. One of the most difficult places in order to thrive and survive. So they're in the Kalahari Desert studying the Bushmen that lived there and watching them as they went about their daily tasks that they needed to do to meet their needs. And they'd been watching for about 2 or 3 weeks and watching as the guys went out and gathered food and came back and the women did about their business. And they had noticed when all the guys left, there's one guy that routinely and consistently stayed back. And they were curious about this. So one of the days they approached what looked like to be one of the leaders of the guys going out, and they're like, hey, how do you feel about this guy staying back at the tribe and not going out with you guys? They're like, well, we don't understand. He's like, well, you guys go out there, get all the food, you bring it back, he still gets to eat the food with you, but he didn't go out with you. They're like, we still don't understand what you are trying to say. They're like, okay, so you go out there, you do all the stuff you don't want to do, and then you come back with food and he still gets to eat it. They said, yes, of course, he's hungry. What is the problem? Like, well, don't you understand? You did all this stuff you didn't want to do, and he still gets to take in the benefit of it. They're like, oh, no. We do that because we love doing it. If he doesn't want to come with us, he doesn't have to. So here's this ideology in this culture that they didn't have this concept of work, this concept of doing something you didn't want to do because you had to. I mean, we look at the kids playing football on the field and we say, oh, look how much fun they're having out there, and we almost feel bad for the kids standing on the sideline not joining them. We don't go, oh my gosh, why are those kids still standing on the sideline? They don't have to be out there running around and they still get in the halftime snacks. Like, no, we don't think that way. We say, look how much fun they're having. And this is something that's possible in one of the harshest climates on our planet. And we see today where we're working more and more hours every day of our lives dedicated to this concept of trying to meet our basic needs when many needs aren't even being met. And we want to see what is the foundation of this crisis that we're experiencing. And I think that foundation lies in our financial system, as mundane and boring as that sounds. I don't know how many of you are familiar with how our financial system works, but in the last decade, central banks made over $12 trillion worth of wealth, essentially. Did any of you get that money? No? Okay. Did either of you get a say on whether or not that money should be created? How any of that money should be spent? Did any of you loyal US dollar users or euro users or Indonesian rupiah users get any of that money for supporting those economies? That's strange. So then why do we keep using these currencies? And it might be because there wasn't solid alternatives. So you may have been hearing about blockchain and cryptocurrency and this big weird sounding movement, but it all came out of the ideology that we can create currency that nobody owns, that we can use ourselves, and that we can deliver this value however we choose. And that's the new concept here. And what I think could be a very profound solution to a lot of our crises is, why don't we deliver some of our collective wealth to solving some of these crises? Over 5.2 trillion of the collective wealth we made in the last decade, actually shorter than that, went to subsidizing oil and gas industries to make them cheaper than renewable energy so we can keep destroying our planet at an exponential rate. So we want to turn that around. We want to create a financial system that as it grows, as it's expanding, we're generating more wealth and directing it towards the regeneration of our planet, towards connecting each other, towards rewarding us for participating in it. Because a big crisis today is having to make a decision. A big conflict today is having to make a decision between what's best for you and the planet and what's best for your pocket, or best for your wallet. Right now, and typically, those are in conflict. Which is why we see a lot of the crises we're experiencing today. One very potent one being the burning of the Amazon right now. That's intentionally taking place because someone in some position is having to make a decision between destroying the Amazon or growing the economy, making more money. And someone in that position, I don't know if they want to be making that decision, but they are, and that's a decision that our system is having them make. And the outcome of those fires is him choosing to do what's best for the economy, opposed to what's best for our planet and what's best for the thrivability of all species. So right now, those things are in conflict. So the concept behind Seeds is to unite those, to build an alternative financial system that rewards us for participating in it, generates wealth for us to be able to decide how we want to direct that towards projects that can heal our Earth, fix our planet. Because so many of those projects that need to happen and need to take place aren't profitable. It's not profitable to clean up the beach. It's not profitable to replant native forests with no intention of cutting them down. It's not profitable to do the healing our planet needs, which is why, for several decades of us understanding this, it hasn't been done. So I don't think we're going to find a solution, even though we might have a couple, Dakota, about ways of making it profitable to heal our planet. So we're creating a system that as we grow $12 trillion worth of wealth, we can say, hey, let's take 250 billion of that and end world hunger, thank you, Earth Nation. Great, now we have 13 trillion left over, what do we want to do? Okay, let's take 4 trillion of that and give it to our most impoverished people so that they don't have to live day to day and not get their basic needs met. Great, we still have 8 trillion left over. And this is without having any impact on our day-to-day life. This is our current financial system that we're already using, so it's not like some form of weird communism. This is what's happening. So we have this wealth that we can be distributing, taking care of all these needs, and none of our needs need to be taken away. We don't need to take money out of our own pocket to pay for this to happen. So some of you have heard of Bitcoin. So I'm trying to give you a real-world example of how this is possible. Bitcoin generated about $198 billion US worth of wealth. That's how much it's worth. Anyway. It generates about $9 billion US worth of Bitcoin each year. This is Bitcoin that's just magically made into existence and delivered to people for doing mining and all these weird things that you don't understand, I'm sure. But the idea is that it's making $9+ billion US a year and delivering it how people choose. And this is what's possible. So we're saying instead of delivering that money to pay mining fees and electricity costs, which is what Bitcoin's doing, we're saying we're going to generate wealth and let the people decide how we should spend that money. And the only cap we're going to put on that is we're saying 25% of that is earmarked for grants for regenerative projects. So now projects that are doing the most regeneration for our planet can compete, not for who's most profitable, but how best they can regenerate it and tell their ideas and get sold and get everyone to vote for them, essentially. But now we have a revenue stream to be able to finance these projects. And we can take some more of that money and give it to local co-ops so that people can collectively start buying assets. So it's like Kickstarter, but without having to pull money out of your pocket, you can just vote for the things that you want. So it'd be like your local community getting together, your local governance, and saying, hey, we're actually going to open up the local community and say that you all own everything that we own. And now you get to manage our budget. What do we as a community actually want to buy? It's no longer having these leaders making these decisions and then choosing to kick those leaders out when they don't represent you. It's voting directly for ourselves on the way we want our collective wealth spent. Aside on our governance systems, it may have made sense once upon a time to have someone represent you when you had to get on a horse, ride for 3 days to get into a coliseum and shout real loud and expect to get heard. So back in the days before the internet, it kind of made sense to have a representative democracy system. But today we have the internet, we have ways of direct communication, we don't need anyone to represent us anymore. So it's no longer, a task of trying to find the most righteous leader in order to lead us. Because I really think the reality is the people who want to lead and want that level of position, they're probably not the people who ought to be leading us anyway. And I really think the solution isn't in trying to reform our current system either. As Buckminster Fuller said, the solution is making the old system obsolete, not trying to reform it. So, bringing it back into this. That's the revolution, the Renaissance, I actually like to call it. And aside on that, just because I'm all full of tangents. I think the concept of a revolution is one where someone in lower power rises up against the people in power and takes them down and replaces that power structure to then put their foot on the people they just took over, right? That's what a revolution is. It's just this endless cycle of changing who's in power, but not actually changing the paradigm that they're operating within. Why a Renaissance is something a bit different. It's where all people, all positions of power realize that there's a better alternative for everyone, and then they just leave that system behind and step into a new model that works better for all of the people. It's not the 99% versus the 1%. It's not the conscious people versus the greedy people. It's all of us together stepping into something that works better for everyone. Yeah. Good. So what we've been doing for the last 3+ years, since I've been at Bali, is just creating this financial layer and making this possible for us to be able to step into a new financial system with new currencies, with new governance systems, and actually get rewarded for using your currency and making payments and kind of doing everything you're already doing. I guess I can help ground this. It's kind of like joining PayPal, but instead of paying fees when you're a business for using PayPal, you get paid to do it. And instead of me handing you $20 in cash in order to pay you and getting no benefit from it, now I can pay you on this system and actually get rewarded for doing it. Because the more I use this and the more I contribute to the system, the more of that money that we're making, that $12 trillion, is going to you. Does that make sense? And to help ground this concept, we're not just inflating money out of nowhere. All we're doing, a little bit more context, in Bitcoin, when more people join Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin goes up. Everyone knows that, right? So that's kind of the urge for people to join Bitcoin. It's like, hey, the price is going to go up, go in early, and then you can take advantage of the price going up. The problem with that is that a very few people own a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin. So every time that Bitcoin goes up by $1, those people get way more wealth than the people who joined later, or the people who didn't have enough wealth to get enough Bitcoin. So all that system does is concentrate wealth into, again, fewer and fewer hands. It's not a renaissance, it's a revolution. So we want to do something similar. As more people are joining this new financial system, instead of the price of that currency going up, we create more currency so the price remains stable. One that looks more like a currency, it gives us more faith that the value is going to remain stable too, so it actually helps us use it for everyday purchase. 2, it's not concentrating wealth. And 3, it's generating this financial pool that we can then deliver towards collective projects regenerating our planet and doing all these really beautiful things that we'd like to do, but we can't find money for. And that's it. Sorry, there's one more piece. This sounds like a monumental thing that people ask, well, who's behind this? This is a great question. So we can't create a financial system that's decentralized and works for everyone if the people behind it we're 5 people behind closed doors in a small company doing it, right? So we are actually people building seeds. It's called Haifa. And what it is a decentralized autonomous organization. You might have heard of these things. But essentially it's an online digital co-op that literally anyone can show up to this party, start giving their value to help build this system, and get financially compensated for doing it. So there's no barrier to entry other than your will to show up, bring whatever value you're wanting to bring, and it getting accepted by the community at large for that value that you're bringing. So this isn't us doing it, we're creating open source code that we've created for everyone to be part of this renaissance, so we can all participate in creating a new system that's going to better work for us and our children. And that's it.
Thank you, guys. So, what I'm hearing is really the solutions are here. They're right here, right now with us. Not only the solutions here, but we are the solution. And I think that's something to celebrate. So let's just celebrate together, guys. Yay! And this just came to me. It's like we're moving from the ego to the we go. So I want to say, here we go. Here we go! And so for our next beautiful brother, I want to invite Kevin Orosz onto stage, and he's going to share his wisdom, his beauty, and his love with you guys. Give him a big hand of applause.
What's up, family? Will, Vanessa, bless y'all. Thank you for being here and giving us a reason to celebrate planetary solutions and ushering in the golden age of planetary culture, which is what I'm going to sing right now in a seed crystal here in Ubudia. How many people are actual Ubudians who live here? Raise your hand. Okay, pretty good amount. Who's never been here before? This is your first event in Ubud? Awesome, you got some first timers. So I want to start with an experience first to anchor what I'm going to talk about. So I just invite you to close your eyes. You have to stand up, maybe straighten your spine and really come to fullness in your being. We've been hearing about a lot of epic things that are happening on this planet and how we can be a part of it. And what I'm here to talk about is more of the inside job, the inner technology, the inner activation of your unique gifts and blueprint, known as the flow state. So here's the thought experiment. First, take a huge deep breath in through the mouth. Now hold it at the top, sip in a little more. Now stretch your arms all the way up to the sky and just reach up for a download. You're going to get this golden seed, this pillar of light coming down. It's a download from source, higher consciousness, whatever you relate to it as. It's coming into you. Now I want you to see yourself in a situation in the past where you were your best version. Think fourth quarter Kobe Bryant, fourth quarter Michael Jordan. Like your best version of yourself. You have limitless ability, creativity. You're fully physically embodied, emotionally balanced. You're mentally clear. You're like an arrow soaring toward the bullseye. What was that for you? What is that experience for you right now? Take another breath in. If you're still holding, let that one go. Take another one in. And just remember what that was. Like, how did that situation happen? What environment were you in? Who were you around? Did you have a mission, a goal, objective? Were you performing art or music? Were you in a business deal? Were you helping someone? Was it a healing or a powerful moment of clarity? Was it an insight, a phenomenon? And as you exhale, just bring that all the way down through your body, just grazing your forehead, your heart, and bring it down to your belly button. Like, put it all the way back into your body. And maybe we can share that throughout the day. We don't have time right now because I just want to blast y'all with some epic codes. But if you're still holding your hands up, keep downloading. You're welcome to do that. But yeah, that was probably a time where you were in a flow state. And this is what I've been studying. I've been a flow junkie for years. And over the past 3 years, through meditation, breathwork, qigong, plant medicine, ordeals, wilderness survival, there's so many different pathways into it. But what I'm here to talk about is how activating your flow state and doing what you're best at and what's most expansive and creative for you is actually what's going to pull all of humanity into a golden age. And Dakota beautifully pointed this out. A lot of us are doing things for money so that we can be in our flow state, right? So maybe you're a painter, you're an artist. You actually get most turned on and you're most contributive and you add the most value to your tribe when you're painting. However, you're working at a restaurant as a waiter, so you can paint, right? And so my thesis that I've lived my life under since I decided to become an entrepreneur, whatever that is, I also agree that entrepreneurship and business may be the best vehicle humanity has right now to actually get solutions grounded. Because we can all sit and hold a collective meditation field and just hope that global governments will vote differently. But that hasn't worked yet on the planet. So we're going to just go with another thesis. I think that's still important, by the way. What if the times where you were most in flow became the source nexus of everything you did? So all your sexual, emotional, tribal relationships, all of your business, value adds, and tribal, projects, whether that's clean water and food, currency, wealth, eliminating waste, things we've been talking about. What if that all stemmed from your personal flow state? Just hold that kind of equation or experiment in your mind. This guy's not too happy about the drum. Love you, brother. So let me just tell you a little bit about the flow state. So you have like the kind of framework and architecture I'm working with. You might have been in a flow state if you experience a sense of timelessness. So have you ever been in like a cafe in Ubud? This is pretty standard procedure where you're like, oh wow, like 4 hours have gone by, I have no idea what's going on. It's emotional connection, right? Going deep in a conversation, sharing stories. It's a great way to get into a flow state. But these are kind of the 4 aspects of a flow state. One is timelessness, so time dilation. A lot of people experience this in sports, high performance activities that are very physical, right? Athletes call it the zone. Time falls away. It's a huge one. The next one is you lose a sense of yourself. So this is a really important part, as Sarah's saying, the ego to we go. When you're in this state of perfect development, creativity, I want to really help you see that this is not just something that like elite athletes get into or entrepreneurs. This is washing the dishes. This is doing laundry. This is walking down the street. This can be anything. It's a state of consciousness that's accessible to us at all times. And a big part of that is actually losing a sense of self, because if you're maintaining your personality and really in your mental part that we call me, it actually uses a lot of cognitive bandwidth and energy. So a big part of that you're in a flow state is that's actually gone, and you see people and they come out of these epic performances or artistic expressions, etc. They're like, whoa, I wasn't even there. My joke with my friends is like, dude, I just blacked out. Like, I was like so epic. It's because you weren't like thinking about, oh, how am I being seen right now and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I'm in a flow state right now, by the way. Timelessness, selflessness. The next one is actually a deep sense of meaning-making, sense-making. So this is a really important one, and this one solves some of the problems that have been touched on, which is a lot of the world's lost meaning. There's a lot of people, especially I think men in the Western countries, that are losing this sense of connection to meaning. And things come up like addiction, depression, suicide. All these things we see are symptoms of actually a deep loss of meaning that our ancestors understood. And so the flow state's a way to regain that. And you're in a flow state when you have an inherent sense of meaning making that's connected to your activity, whether it's cognitive, physical, emotional. So that's a big piece of it. And actually, I would say, in my opinion and experience, that's the most important one, that the other ones circulate around. Because there's plenty of activities that are timeless and selfless that we enjoy, but lack this meaning-making part. And so this is where we actually put the flow state to service in business and relationships and on the earth to actually usher in a golden age humanity that's like a new renaissance. So that's number 3. Number 4 is this is a little different than meaning-making, but similar. Your sense of skill, so something you're good at, right? Skill is something that can be trained. There's also innate skills, right? Some of us are just born with some that are stronger than others. Others can be trained. In a flow state, you have this sense that you're at the limit, you're just beyond the limit of where your skill level is. So it's not so hard, whatever you're doing. Again, this can be a deep conversation, this can be archery, this can be yoga, this can be lovemaking, this can be, digging a ditch or like planting a garden in just the right way in the right geometry. I really want you to understand that flow states are not a special elite knowledge. This is actually grounded grassroots human consciousness that creates something like this sacred geometric pattern that we so love in the conscious community. So you have the sense that you're at the very limit of like, this is how good I am at XYZ. I'm just beyond my limit. And so that feeds into the meaning making because you're like, I'm getting better in this moment, right? And we all love personal development. That's probably why a lot of us are here, is we got into personal development, whether it's through yoga, through meditation, through diet, nutrition, exercise, etc. As human beings, we like to feel that we're getting better just for its own sake, because that feeling of growth is like super healthy to our consciousness and it feels powerful. So that's number 4, is that you're at that skill mastery level. So again, timelessness, selflessness, the sense of meaning making, sense making, and that skill mastery. When these 4 things come into a perfect center point, you can imagine like a quadrant or a wheel, you are going to be in a flow state. So what that exercise was before is, for some of us, it's so obvious to others what our flow state is because they see it and feel it. And this is the next piece of what I want to share is, this is what Golden Age humanity is, in my opinion. The Golden Age has existed on Earth in many times, and I keep going back to this Pyramids of Chi mural, which is so beautiful, because the people who built those pyramids worldwide were in this kind of civilization. That's the only way you could reach a pinnacle of architecture, of knowledge, of wisdom traditions, of deep social and societal operating systems that served the earth and the flourishing of human consciousness at the same time. That's like a mass scale flow state. So 2 things I want you to take away from this brief little TEDx talk here. One is your personal flow state and like committing to that and sourcing your energy, your financial, emotional energy, your mental energy, your physical energy from that is actually a massive vote in support of Gaia and Mother Earth and in support of humanity as we go through this narrow passageway and birthing process. That's going to be really intense and already is intense, you know, like we mentioned. Pray for the Amazon. It's on fire right now. The planet's going through a metamorphosis and an equilibrium punctuated burst. That's pretty intense, especially if you're not in a place where you have access to clean water, food, flow state, and community like we do here in Ubud and Bali. Like this is one of the nexuses of the earth. That's why so many surfers are attracted here. So many yogis, so many entrepreneurs. There's places on the planet which usually are accompanied by ley lines or energetic, veins of the earth crossing that attract community just like this. So it's not a coincidence that you're here. And I want you to understand, and I invite you to understand that your flow state isn't just a luxury, it's really important. So you can be a gardener, you can be a guru, you can be a professional baseball player, you can be a yoga teacher. It doesn't matter. The important thing is if you go all in on that, you're going to affect the fabric of the community around you. So it's really important that you understand what it is. And I'm laying out a map for you here that I think might be useful. Because you can start to notice, okay, and this is the really tricky thing, is that little guy, the ego, little guy or gal, which we love so much, and I think actually needs healthy expression in the world to create boundaries, etc. You might think your flow state is one thing, but it's actually something else. So I know I've had this experience, right? Because I've tried on many different hats in my journey. At one point, I thought I was going to be a full-on yoga teacher. So that's really present for me. I went to India, did the whole training, studied at Iyengar Vinyasa, went to Los Angeles, and I was like, all right, this is my thing. I'm going to do it. And then other things emerged out of that. So actually, I needed community, and this is where the Golden Age civilization comes in, and what we're modeling here in many ways, is sometimes you need mirrors to understand what you're best at. Because of that little tricky thing about selflessness. So if you lose your sense of self and you're just doing something and you're amazing at it, maybe you're an amazing connector. You're the person that connected every important relationship and business model in your community. That's a type of flow state. I call that the cosmic broker. This is where archetypes overlay on here. There's all kinds of flow archetypes, which I don't have time to get into, but there's all kinds of different people. Some people are performers, so they actually are good at being the single one with all the attention to give a darshan or transmission, and that's their flow state. But meanwhile, they might think they're a stockbroker, and they think that that's the dope thing. And their friends are like, no, dude, you're actually, this is what you should be doing. And so, a lot of my life has been surrendering and getting out of the way of what the flow state is. That's what I teach to clients. I'm actually almost done with an online course on this because I think that, for me, it's not like I decided to pick flow states because it was cool, or like, oh yeah, flow states, that's dope, I'll do that. It's like, no, this is actually a way out of depression. This is a way out of anxiety. This is a way out of confusion in your life. Because massive amounts of resources are lying dormant inside of all of us. Subconscious mind, Bruce Lipton and these fringe kind of scientists that are studying it, it's at least 9,000 times stronger than the conscious mind. So this little nugget here we call the prefrontal cortex that we call me, and we plan and problem solve. It's not running the show, it's the rudder on the ship. The sails, the oars, all the power of the ship is living below that level and is in other parts of the brain and the nervous system. And the nervous system is distributed. So, all that to say, your flow state matters, the way it interfaces with your community matters, and on mass levels, like we got epic people here talking about massive solutions to finance, to waste. Those organizations and institutions and new governance models get to be in a shared flow state. And a group flow state 10x is what's possible, because an individual in a flow state can have a big impact. It's like, whoa, that guy's really in the zone. Michael Jordan, LeBron James. I love the basketball metaphors. Like I was an athlete in past life in Texas, and I love that stuff. Those guys, their flow state inspires generations. Because like Michael Jordan in Game 6 of the finals in the fourth quarter, everyone's like, oh, the game's over. His flow state's so strong, like people are still rewatching that tape. It's like, whoa. And a lot of you have experienced this in a yoga class or cacao ceremony or ecstatic dance, all of which we're going to be doing today. A group flow state actually feels and acts and looks way better. Because any part of you that's not in a flow state, you're like, oh, like Adam's really vibing, or like Dean's vibing, let me get in that, like whoosh, and you come out of yourself and pop into the timelessness, pop into the selflessness. Suddenly all the problems you had, all of the issues, all of the malaise gets washed away in that group synergy field. And it's fun when we're just dancing and doing cacao, but imagine an like economic forum that's planning in that mode, and they prioritize that. This is transcending like the guru or like president or ego model of the Piscean age, where like one human in a flow state governed everything. The new level is the sacred G, it's the sacred geometry. A network of flow stated humans summons so much consciousness, so much ease, so much performance, so much power, that any solution or action they undertake as a group field is unstoppable. It's gonna look like magic. It is magic. It's like Neo, just like the bullets stop, because it's so beyond what one human conscious can do. And none of this stuff is new. We just have terminology now with neuroscience and physiology, and all the ancient mystery schools have been poured on your doorstep. It's on your phone on Google right now. You can find out about ancient Egypt and the Mayans and Tai Chi and all the martial arts and plant medicine. It's all here because this is where we're heading. And as a group of humans, like this place alone is filled with so many solutionary leaders and visionaries. We get to, and I think we need to, understand this technology personally at a really deep level, so then we can interface into a massive group together and co-create these solutions for humanity. So this is one of those master maps for me. Like understanding your flow state, and again, those four little areas. Like you can do I invite you to do an analysis. Sit down in meditation and figure out what it is for you. And you're gonna have multiple, but one of them's gonna hit the bullseye, where time dilation happens, selflessness happens, meaning making, you feel really good when you do it, and skill mastery. The point at which those four things coalesce is your flow trigger, and that's your flow nexus. Now, bonus, if you can get paid to do that, if people have a demand for that, if you can add value with that, if that's good for your body, nutrition, mind, I mean, you are cruising. You're cruising. And I think the most successful people on this planet that are in the new age paradigm of the we go are doing this naturally, and they may not even know it. And so geeks like me, flow scientists and mystics, get to come in and like kind of audit and be like, oh yeah, like this, and like this is a flow trigger, and like, and I'm inviting and initiating all of you into that now. Most of you are already flow masters and you probably don't even know it, or you haven't put this kind of language to it. So I'm just offering you these little tools. We can language over it, so we can use this kind of energy, the flow energy, which is Tao, I think the ancient Chinese are so ahead of their time, and they influenced the ancient Vedic culture. And like for me, it always comes down to, and I'll end on this, The Tao. It's the Tao. The Tao is the pathless path, and it is that place of maximum force and power where it's like it can move mountains. It can just like tidal waves of change and power can come from it on any level, economic, political, personal, spiritual. But it's using the least force. There's not any effort. It's this very mysterious void-like energy that just, and that's what your flow state is. As a human being, you have access to it, and the degree to which you access it is going to create the golden age for humanity. Done. Love y'all.
Thank you, brother. That's like a physical expression of flow state. And I just want to piggyback on what Kevin was saying. Each and every one of us out here, each and every one of you out there, has a zone of genius. And you know where it is. You just have to close your eyes and be it. Washing the dishes or throwing a frisbee or speaking on stage or whatever it is, there's a feeling in that. And it's that feeling that you want to cultivate and take to those other areas of your life. I just want to make one quick announcement. Ab, are you here? So we have some local projects as well here in Bali. And a very beautiful brother, Abasin here, is building a school up in the north of Bali. It's done through voluntary donations, donation of time. It's a really beautiful project. And on the 15th, is that right? On September the 15th, they're going to be going up there and doing some painting, and what else are you doing? Plant some veggies. If you have any interest in donating your time or your support or some money, please go and speak to Ab at the end, and he'll be more than happy to give you some information. Yeah, find that child inside and go and play with some kids and do some good. So once again, I invite you to take a deep breath and shake out some space. Yeah, and let that ground into your cells and into your being and into your heart. And take one more deep breath and make a big space in your heart for the next beautiful brother that's about to join us on stage. Ooh, Yakacha. Mike, would you like to come up here and share some of your genius?
So I saw everyone do the breath thing, so I definitely want to do the breath thing. So can you just like, ready? You gotta be synchronistic about this. Ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. God, that feels good. So I remember when I was a kid, one of my first memories was I was so afraid of death. Like seriously, I was like one of those like little Asian kids. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I was afraid of everything, okay? And I remember when I was yay high, I was so afraid that I would just crawl into my parents' bedroom, and while they were asleep, I would just put my finger on their nose to see if they were breathing. And of course, like from their point of view, they never woke up and saw me do that, because I think they'd be like super weird, like, yo, my kid's possessed. Like imagine any one of those movies when the little kid's just like singing those ring around the rosy, and you think it's like haunted or whatever. I wasn't one of those kids. I don't think I was possessed. I don't think I had demons inside of me. Just ecstatic danced it out. I just staged it out. We're all good. But this was the initial motivator for me as a kid. You know, this is like ever since I was like a little kid, I remember I would just like walk through life, and then I don't know, it would just hit me, death is coming. I was so afraid, I would just cry. 12 years old, cry. I would always just have this mentality of, holy crap, life is so short, and if we don't do the thing that we were put on this earth to do, then we would just kind of like wash away in the sands of time. And that shit like freaked me out so freaking much. Like there's so many people over here that have this gift inside of them, that have this genius, this zone of genius that they don't even know it's there because they're afraid to ask them the right questions. But for me, that intention of wanting to do something with my life, that intention of wanting to be more and do more instead of just getting like a free handout from like society or the government or other people. I don't know what happened, you know, I ended up forgetting about it. I started getting older, the ego started coming into place. I stopped focusing on my mortality, I stopped focusing on my purpose, I stopped focusing on what actually fueled me as a child ever since I was young, and I started worrying about what other people thought. And it got to the point where you start losing your passion and you start adopting the limiting beliefs of other people. How many of you guys can relate? You guys maybe feel like shit, but then you're like, wait, I'm observing my mind. This isn't my thoughts. I actually don't feel like shit. And what's crazy is as I kept on going older, what happened is I started to forget my passion, I started forgetting my purpose, and I started going into the mold of like what society wanted me to do. Like, oh hey Mike, if you want to be like a really good boy and you want to become successful, you just stay in school, you get good grades. Let's actually see if you guys can understand. Maybe you had similar limiting beliefs or whatever, because like I did. I mean, I'm not freaking perfect, but money is the root of all. Money is the root of all. You work really, really hard until you... Okay, that's messed up. Everyone was programmed the same. We were all programmed to work until we die, instead of working until retired, which is what most people work till. And this concept didn't really hit me because, of course, like when you get older and the ego happens, you start worrying about other people thinking. You start focusing on your appearances instead of what's actually going on inside. You start losing it. And for me, I went into a different flow, which what was talked about. Except this was the flow of the autopilot, where every single time I blink, I didn't know this, but maybe 2 years pass. Or how many times are you guys back at home and you guys are driving through traffic, maybe coming down Ubud, or that long ass road in Tegalalang, because I used to live there for 6 months. And then without even noticing, 15 minutes pass, and you're like, what the hell happened with my life? And one of the biggest things, the wake-up calls, was me realizing that I was too much in flow in the autopilot of the things that I wasn't actually planning in my life, that years were passing by. I started seeing my parents getting older. I started seeing them kind of get older, and then this need for fulfilling our things that society thinks we need, we just started losing our time. And I remember it was crazy. I was, I think, 19, 20 years older at the time. I was supposed to be a dentist, because if you're not a dentist as an Asian person, you're disowned. And it's actually really sad, And what happened was, I remember everything started falling apart. And in that moment in time, it was the worst day of my life. Imagine you're 19 years old and your dad calls you while you're supposed to be having fun, drinking, doing the thing in college. And he's like, Mike, I don't know if we could actually pay for your college education. Can I borrow $2,000? For someone in their 40s or 50s to be so vulnerable and realizing that, holy crap, we don't have anything. The mortgage, we don't know how to pay. We're gonna have to file for bankruptcy. Mom and dad are fighting. You hear these things and then you start trying to escape. And that was my initial personal development. It wasn't really, I wanna grow myself every day and every way. I'm getting better and better. It was just me trying to escape the shitty situation that I was in. I remember when I was laying down and looking up at the ceiling in the middle of the night. I was in that point in my life, the liminal space, where I wasn't necessarily where I wanted to be, but I also wasn't used to be, and it's very of an important space because all it takes is one negative person to bring you back to who you used to be, to prevent you from growing. That I was laying there and I was wondering, okay, what happens if I actually do the thing that I thought I needed to do? Go to school, get good grades, become a dentist, get a wife, white picket fence, everything good and dandy. What would actually happen? And I visualized it, And I visualized 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, because I was always afraid of what would my life look like if I don't follow the path that society told me to do. And what happened is, initially I was afraid because of the unknown. I don't know, Tim Ferriss calls it fear setting, or fear whatever, but you basically analyze what it is that you're afraid of, and most of the times it's the unknown. And then I realized that actually, the thing that I was trying to run away from was the thing that I was afraid of the most. Me wanting to become a dentist, my dream that I thought was happening in society was actually the biggest mistake, because imagine if I was 10, 20 old, I'm surrounded with a wife that maybe I'm not in love with, a relationship that's not passionate because that was just enough then and there. I was at a job that didn't fulfill me. I was in a position in life where things happen, and then what happens? I die. At that moment, you start realizing, holy crap, maybe the worst thing that could happen isn't actually the thing that you're afraid of, but that's the cave that you need to enter the most. And for me, it was the unknown of what to do when the plan isn't set up for all of you. So that's what I did. It was a crazy amount of time. I went from a lot of friends to 2 friends. I went with the support of my parents, the support of nobody. I had a really loving relationship at the time, but because of like my craziness, like the up and down and trying to figure out myself and reading all these books and having to be like, no, just read Think and Grow Rich, read The Secret, it'll change your life, and it literally looks like I was possessed. I literally lost everybody. Then after that, I also decided to quit being a dentist, and here I was at ground zero. And I had no idea what to do, but the craziest thing is from that, and what I'm gonna go over today, the concepts that you're gonna take, is what happened from there was the most insane thing in the world. Like, I'm looking back, I'm like, holy crap, Kevin definitely saged my life before he actually knew me. Maybe he taught me about flow state in like a past life or something. Maybe, Cyrus was like, we go. He was just like whispering in my ear as he was saging my soul. And what happened after was insane, because within those 12 months of at the lowest of low, I ended up building a huge audience of 200,000 people. I went from 0 to $1.5 million in 12 months. And not only that, but I ended up figuring out a way to do it in a way where it wasn't because I was chasing a trend or chasing the world, but instead allowing the world and the universe to gravitate to me. And the thing about that is I'm not special. I mean, you guys, if you see me in that static dance, I'm just like that weird guy that he's too much in the static dance. But to just remind you that we're very powerful creatures, but sometimes we forget just how powerful we are. And these concepts were the ones that changed my life forever. And if you start implementing these concepts, it doesn't matter what happens. You can have the worst relationship in the world. You maybe didn't have a positive childhood. Maybe like someone didn't love you. Maybe someone judged you. Maybe you lost a lot of money in a business deal and went south and you're like, what the fuck? Like this is the only, I'm the only person that life is happening to, and it seems like everyone else is having a good time and I'm the one that's just experiencing this shit. Has anyone ever actually experienced that? That they think that they're only ones that are going through shit? We all go through shit. And this is the craziest thing that happened from that. One of the first concepts that I learned was how much of the world is like a mirror, okay? And you guys are in this community, so you know what fractals are. If you guys do the freaking plant medicine, you'll start seeing things that at what is at the big micro level or macro level is the exact same in the micro level. And it's the exact same thing with us and humans. Like if for example, Daniel and I'm judging him, it's not actually that I'm judging him, he's just a mirror to me judging myself. And that my perception of the world was just actually a reflection of me. My reaction to the world was just an awareness of me. And here I was just blaming the world. I was like, why is it the case? Why am I not successful? Why can't I just win the lottery? Why can't I be a fucking basketball player? Why can't I do the things that I want to do? Why can't there just be this yellow brick road for me to just skip down and I just get the life that I want? But that's when I realized life didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And had I had that easy road, I wouldn't have become the person that grew to the point that actually deserved the thing that it is that they wanted. And many of you guys right now, you might be here, you're like, oh man, there's this conscious university thing, there's gonna be cacao and dancing and shirtless dudes and girls that are fairies, I wanna go. You're laughing because it's the truth. That's what I'm hearing. But let's be honest, what's the reason why we're actually all here? Deep down, and this is the reason why I'm here, there's something inside of us that feels alone. There's something inside of us that feels misunderstood. It almost feels like everyone here seems like they're the crazy friends out of their friend group back at home. And Bali's just kind of a place where we all kind of hang out, right? But there is a really crappy situation in your life. Right now, you are going through, you're man, this is the worst. I don't know if I can get out of it. But the craziest thing, when you connect the dots looking back, what Steve Jobs said, you'll realize that worst day of your life is actually the best day of your life. Because had you have not been through such emotional trauma, you wouldn't have been motivated to become the person you are right now. Such amazing, powerful human beings. Unicorns, fairies, DJs. And this is the craziest thing, because if you really think about it, everything that we're going through right now, the worst case scenario would, if your life played out the exact way that your parents thought it would be, that would actually be the worst thing. Imagine that. Right? Imagine if you were going to do the thing that you were supposed to do, dentist, chiropractor, doctor. How different would this room look like? We would look like a bunch of constipated professionals. And that's one of the biggest things that I first realized. It's not that I needed to wish that life was easier, I needed to wish I was better. I needed to stop wishing for less challenges, I started wishing for more skills. Instead of wishing for less problems, I wanted more wisdom. And then instead of changing the world outside, or if we want to like say, oh my God, like we need to change this there, we can't really just meditate and sage our way to abundance and happiness. We need to start actually looking inside, and instead of changing our, I'm just so excited. I started some kratom before this. Instead of actually changing the outside, and I'm talking about the people that are just wearing more crystals, like putting yoni eggs in like places, and just like saging their bodies, the biggest things that we need to first focusing on is not telling how much of the world that, oh, my chaturanga is better than your chaturanga. It's about changing this, the inside. When that happened, that's when kind of like life just came and, you know, surrendering to what it is that the plan happened. And then that's kind of like, which led me to the next thing, because everyone's like, okay, how did you become successful? How did you build such a big business in so little of a time when you're supposed to be a dentist? And the biggest thing that happened was it wasn't actually of my own doing, but because I was always the dumbest person in the room. I was always a person that was afraid to say something stupid because I was like, oh my God, be judged, but you know what, it was whatever. I killed my ego, and I was like, I'm gonna be the dumbest person in the room for the next 12 months. Because I knew when I realized I was doing everything alone, like, yeah, I could make some money, but the first thing that would happen is I would lose it just as fast as I made it. It got so hard. Like, I remember a story just even recently, right? Like, it was more like, I go in life is a pendulum. So I'll go from like super serious businessman hustler to like Buddhist monk, vegan, like just, you know, semen retention, and just everyone thinks I'm freaking crazy, but it's like a pendulum. I recently just came from a super hustler mode, like, oh no, like I'm only gonna static dance 3 times a week, just gonna keep it to the minimum. And it was crazy because I remember I was like building my business and I was focusing too much on what the other speakers were talking about. I was focusing on the money, I was focusing on this thing that was just man-made, created, when I didn't focus on what was actually the money, and that was the energy. And every single time I made the money, it left as fast as possible. And I didn't realize it because I was doing everything all alone. Like, and you know when you gain some success, you start like being like, oh, I'm special, I can do this, like I don't need anybody. Like I remember it was like super humbling in January, for example, recently. I had this new business idea. I was like, okay, let's like test some ads on it, right? Let's do some marketing, Facebook agency, like coaching, sign up for my calendar, like whatever. I started building something. We started spending like $100 a day, $200 a day, $300 a day in ads. I was like, how much did we make? Talking to my team, like nothing. I'm like, oh no, it's fine. Like I just read the law of attraction. We're good. Like scale the business up. Like imagine there's people out there that are like, the life is going to shit, and they're like, oh my God, I'm just gonna meditate into it, and then I'm gonna, like what Kevin says, spiritually bypass it and just go to Zest and talk about, you know, my crazy connection with like he was a Sagittarius, and oh my God, like I can't even breathe. It's like up in my Kundalini awakening. Holy shit! And one of the biggest things that changed was, I remember we were spending $1,000 a day, and I was so much in my ego. I was like, I don't need shit. Like this is fine. Abundance. The money will come back. Holy shit, we ended up losing $100,000 in like 30 days. I was like, damn, I freaking suck at business. And that's kind of like when I cancel it, and I know I'm like cutting into the time, but this is all gonna make sense later on. So then for the couple months, I swang back into the hippiness. That's when like a lot of friends here were like just seeing me at a static dance every freaking day, just like dancing, doing like like I'm possessed. And I swang so far on the other end when I started to avoid everything. And actually, one of the things that changed was when I started investing back in myself and stopped focusing on being too still and having the perfect balance between the Bada and the Buddha and the badass, the monk and the hustler. And I started going to events like this. Like right now, there's something in you. Maybe a little flow state trigger might happen. Maybe someone might have a Kundalini awakening, but something's gonna happen where you're gonna get to that next level. And it's not because of what's happening inside, it's what's happening around us right now. Does that make sense? And what happened for me is I realized I was at this event, a Mind Valley event in Croatia, and I was like, man, why did I fucking leave? Like, there's no villas here, like there's no smoothie bowls, there's just a bunch of meat, like I'm tired of just eating these ice creams. Like, seriously, Europe, it's just ice cream and just like a sausage shop. Ice cream, sausage shop. Anywhere you go in Europe, I'm like, damn, this is not freaking vegan. They're like, oh, you have like plants? Like, no, we have like beef. I'm like, all right. But it ended up being this craziest thing, because one of the things that shifted in that moment in time, and I want to share you that nugget before I actually leave, because like Sarah's like, get the fuck off stage. You're being too in flow right now. One of the best things was at the moment in that time, there was this one exercise that changed it all, actually two. The first one was, number one, forgetting all about the money. I always thought about the money because I was always in scarcity. So of course that's what I'm gonna focus on. Like if I go to an event and someone's like, oh yeah, you just gotta like Reiki it and do that, like you'll succeed. I'll be like, well, what's the technique? What's the actual like thing, what's the button that I need to push? And because of that, I was closing my life off to so many opportunities when I forgot what initially got me there in the first place. So the first thing I did was forget all about money, because remember, money is just this thing that we define it, right? It was made, like it's owned by a private company, like we give it the power, and all it is just like ethereal value in the form of what the definition we give it. Forget all about that. Focus on the big values that you have in life. What are the things that fuel you? For me, it was love, contribution, connection, being in flow, creating a movement, stuff like that. And I started looking at all of the offers, all the things that I was selling, that did not align to my value, that I wasn't aligned with, I just canceled it. And for the next couple of months, I had no idea what to do, because I was like, man, no money's coming in. I'm used to a lot, my ego's used to a lot, but now it's like nothing. And then, you have this like facade of, oh, this is what people see you as, and this is how you need to act as. But then deep down, you're like, fuck, dude, I feel like a fraud, right? Or an imposter. But I remember going back to the initial intention of that exercise once I did that, and that was writing down two things. Number one, what is the magic that I witnessed in the day? And two, what was the intention that I needed to do once I witnessed that magic? Because people are like, oh my God, that magical thing happened. Okay, I'm just gonna go and not do anything about it. And what we realize is sometimes we meet the right people, but we ask the wrong questions. And for me, what changed was when I was like, okay, now I'm gonna do the business all over again. I'm just gonna focus on adding value. I'm not gonna focus on taking. And that's when the next couple of weeks were the craziest weeks of my life. From starting a podcast to then like interviewing some guy that made $1 million a month profit. Cyrus is coming closer to me, but I'm almost like freaking done. We interviewed the guy, the founder of Gojek, within like 2 weeks of it starting. I'm like, what the fuck, this guy is like $10 billion company? And I'm reverse engineering what actually happened, and it stems to the idea of the U Army, which Adam was like, dude, what's the U Army? What's the U Army? I was like, okay, this is the U Army, okay? So essentially what the U Army is you find an intention of what it is that you want out of life. And when you have that vision, that main vision, that North Star of what you want, you then write down all the things that you're good at, but most importantly, all the things that you suck at. Your shadow stuff, your darkness, the people that you don't want to share your insecurities, your weaknesses, because you're going to be afraid that someone's going to see you as weak. But what that is just a to-do list of all the people that you need to meet that have the same vision, but where your strength is their weakness. And that's what happened from there. I started realizing, okay, it's not about me, it's about we. It's not about I go, it's about we go. And that's when I started finding a long list of people that I was like, okay, I need to find a way to just add as much value to them, and I won't think of any financial whatever, because remember, money's just energy, and if I give enough people what they want, then I can have anything. And from there was just the craziest couple of weeks of my life. I was like, holy freaking shit. We ended up making the money that we lost back and then some within a week when I started shifting. And instead of me being in like a position of force, I started surrendering to the people around me and the magic that is around me. With that being said, Cyrus is coming up. He's doing like the Singaporean squat right now. So he's going to like come at me with one of those like tag-along machetes that you see them. So I'm basically done. Aho. Thank you so much. Hopefully this makes sense. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So yeah, once again, I'm going to invite everybody to just move it up, shake it out, let your mojo do its thing. And so, if ever there was an example of this like flow state that's around us right now, is the fact that it's almost 4 o'clock and we've got 2 speakers still to go. So we are timeless. So I just want to say that we're not cutting anything out of the schedule, we're just shifting it forward, and all of the workshops this afternoon that were going to be 90 minutes are going to be speed taught into 60 minutes, and all the 60-minute ones are still there. So, yeah, we have 2 wonderful speakers left to join us. I was asked to do a backflip and a side flip and a little bit of fireworks, but I can do the fireworks. Just want everybody to do their own personal firework noise to invite our lovely T on stage, who's going to talk to you about her zone of genius.
Thank you for the interaction. Hi. I'm going to be super real here. I've got a few notes, so I'm going to do a little bit of really. Speaking is not my natural flow state. Had I been asked to hop up here and perform, dance, climb something, no problem. This one's a little bit of a new one for me, but I'm embracing it. I keep getting this calling, so here I am. First up, I would like to acknowledge the Balinese people, the Indonesians, the holders of this land, for reminding us of ceremony of gratitude of the present moment, and for being peaceful, grateful, patient, and accepting all of us, all of the others to the land. It's so nice to feel welcome. And really, it's an example of the culture that the Western world is striving for. That's why we're here. And also thank you to the Conscious Universe, Conscious Society, for bringing together everyone. Thank you so much. I know firsthand how hard it is to put on events like this and bring people internationally together, all the moving parts. So all of your efforts are recognized and honored, and so much gratitude for your contribution towards a new paradigm, a sustainable future. So I invite you all to close your eyes. We're just going to dive in for a moment. Sitting up nice and tall, grounding down through your sits bones. You melt those shoulders down away from your ears. Just imagine there is a golden string pulling up from the crown of your head, creating space between each vertebrae. Your spine grows taller. I want you to start to take a deep inhalation, starting from the root of your spine, letting the energy circle between each vertebrae, making its way up to the crown of your head. Once we get there, just taking an extra little sip in, pause, and let's exhale with a sigh. And once again, taking a nice slow inhalation, starting from the root of the spine, drawing the energy up, letting it circle around the space between each vertebrae, letting it come all the way to the crown of your head, letting it circle, pause. Once again, exhale with a sigh. Now I want you to bring your focus to the space between your eyebrows, into the third eye. And when we talk about sustainable future, I just want you to take a moment to visualize what it is that you see. Who are you? What's around you? How's Pasha Mama doing? Who are you with? How is your relationship with yourself, with the other? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? We all have this power to vision and to dream. We all have this power to manifest. But we also have this power to actualize what we're seeing in our heads so we can share it with everyone else around us and the rest of the world. And I believe this is how we shift into the new paradigm. We are doing the work ourselves, but it's also up to us to actualize it out into the reality, into our immediate environment, and out beyond that. So I did want to share with you what I see. I see embodied spirits living the full human experience in its full potential, learning and exploring through play, a place where gravity is optional, love is unconditional, lines are maps and numbers on paper bills no longer exist, where we are limitless. We are empowered. We are compassionate, understanding, accepting, and every moment is a gift, a chance for celebration. Those around us are allies. They're our mirrors. And they're here with one goal, to bring us closer to unity. So for me, this picture that I'm painting, that's my dream, that's my vision. And for me, this is living inside a circus. This is where everyone is each in their unique authenticity, coexisting, living in community, uplifting, and inspiring each other through individuality to come together as community, where each person is a mirror to show us the sides of ourselves that we need to see so we can release all blocks and experience oneness. So you can come back to me if you've still got your eyes closed, or you can keep them closed, either way. So I'm proud to say that this is how I'm living my year, most of my year. This is the community that I have surrounded around me in my immediate environment for probably 3/4 of the year. I'm starting to see it spread outward as well in communities like this one in Ubud, and other places that I base myself in the world, like Guatemala, Nicaragua, Central America. So who am I? My name is Therese. I'm an Australian designer, come yogi, come circus artist, come entrepreneur. I am a multi-dimensional human being. I'm one of the fortunate ones who's been able to shed a lot of the conditions, a lot of the things that I was born into, to be able to step in and out of different realities. I'm also co-founder of Momentum Collective, which is a new paradigm movement, redefining what is possible for how we exist in this world. So in essence, I'm living that dream of living nomadically in authentic expression of my passions and my visions, and I'm super grateful that I'm able to do this. And what am I doing here? I'm still trying to figure that one out. Ever since I arrived in Bali a few months ago, I've been asked to speak at different events. Not such a big deal. I've been performing and hosting workshops at different festivals and events worldwide with my group Momentum, but recently I've been feeling more of a call to deliver a message from higher consciousness, to transmute this energy that I'm harnessing through my project to deliver something greater, to share the lessons that I've learned. So essentially, I'm here today to tell you how it came about to start a circus, or a new age circus, in a developing country with zero experience in the field. So thank you for all being part of this calling for me to share and stand up in front of you. So the past few years, I've been receiving some intense downloads, messages from higher consciousness. I had a series of events, and which included a near-death experience. It allowed me to shed most of the things that I was carrying and step into my high purpose. So this whole process ended with me just quitting my job, moving out of my apartment, and moving to a volcano to live in a community completely off-grid in Lake Nicaragua. So I went there to meditate and to do predominantly hippie things. And what resulted from this, aside from a bunch of my friends thinking I was totally crazy, was that I started a hub for circus artists and for movement artists. How I did this was, once I moved off the volcano, once I'd done receiving and giving and doing what I had to do, I rented a house on the beach, on a deserted beach in Nicaragua. And I kept doing those things. I kept meditating, I kept training, I kept doing the things that I loved. And what I found is that the most incredible, inspirational, loving, open, radically exceptional artists started to flow into my life. Just the simple act of being in my true, authentic expression, keeping my channel clear, not holding on to the stuff that doesn't serve me, I was attracting into my life all of the things that I needed to create this dream. Anything that I could vision would automatically pop up in front of me. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm a manifestor. I can do this thing that they talk about. So once these people, arrived on my doorstep, and I've had some wild people staying in my house, from the streets of El Salvador to, that's a whole nother story. So what we did was we created a structure where we could co-live, co-work, co-train, co-create together. And this was the starting of what is now known as the Momentum Artist Residency, or the start of an epic community. So today we have a network of hundreds of artists across the globe, and we run residencies in 4 locations. Each have their unique offering, and we have created an ecosystem of opportunities for these people, from jobs to performances, teaching gigs, just retreats for people to switch off from the world and bridge into this world that we're experiencing here and now, and to do it in a safe way. Co-creation spaces, networking events, all of the things. And what I'm asked time and time again is, how do we do it? Full event after full event, 3/4 of a year. A community who are engaged, I'm not even going to Burning Man. None of my founders of this project are going to Burning Man, and we have a group who are there connecting. I get photos all the time from people in my community that I'm like, hang on, you guys weren't even in the same residency, you don't know each other, but you're meeting up because you have this connection from this project. It's super beautiful. And I would say that 80 to 90% of people who come through our door come from a referral or returning to us. And sometimes people, it's a big deal to drop everything you're doing. Usually people are staying for a minimum of 1 month with us. Sometimes they're following us from Indonesia to Guatemala to Nicaragua. It's a big deal. And my answer to this is a couple of things. One of them I'll get onto, which is the lessons that I've learned from my circus family. So I think that these people are the most embodied human beings and can tell us a lot about actualizing dreams. But the other thing is a balance of yin and yang energies. So this idea of structure, but not too much structure. I see a lot as we move into new paradigm, new technologies, new ways to do things, new models, new systems. But we don't want to control everything, because what we know is if we plan everything, there's no room for magic. So we need to create just enough structure so that we can let the subtle energies flow. Create the masculine structure so the feminine can still exist. And it's not about creating one polarization or the other, it's about living in unity and coming to an equilibrium. So if we create too much structure, we know there's no magic, but if we manifest everything, if we're too much into the feminine, we also know that nobody turns up on time for training. And your real-world integration goes completely out the window. So it's servicing us, and that's super nice, and we can flow, and feels so good, and connecting, and amazing. But how am I actualizing this into something bigger so my family back home can experience it? People who are not resourced, who haven't been able to shed all the stuff yet, are also able to experience this. They're stuck in that system that is no longer serving humanity. So I believe that, as I said, the best out-of-society community that I've come across in my 32 years of living on this earth is the circus community. They really know how to actualize dreams. Okay, why? Because training this way forces you to show up. It forces you to test new ideas, to fail, to get up again, to show up for others, to give, to receive, to listen. Importantly, to learn how to play again and to fall again, but to always laugh in the end. Some of the ways that we are able to actualize in circus are really, really important principles of being human beings. So this is trust, vulnerability, failure, support, communication, self-expression, through all of the senses, through music, through the body, through all of things. Co-accountability, so showing up for each other, holding each other accountable. It's not just a solo journey. All of these mirrors are here to show us parts of ourselves that we release blocks so we can come into unity. So abolishment of limiting beliefs is a huge one. It's a huge one. Like if you think about flying trapeze artists, how much fear do you have? Okay, 1 minute. How much fear do you have doing that? What does it take to actualize, okay, I see this thing, how am I going to do that? I'm scared, I have to work with somebody else. I can never do that. So we abolish those limiting beliefs through goal setting, through discipline, through routine, through ritual, through this co-accountability. And I believe that this is the way that we can really start to actualize all of our dreams, whether it be circus related or not, into reality. So to wrap it up, I just want to make a point that as we transition into the new paradigm, I want us all to remember that we've come here to have a human experience. This is an embodied experience to enjoy the senses. We're not robots. This is the best thing that I've learned to date. And as we model new societies, we should model them on embodiment, empowerment, vulnerability, space for failure, for play, for sharing, and to be in full expression of the human experience. Thank you.
So it reminds me at school, one of my nicknames was Circus. So it brings a smile to my face. So guys, let's move it around, let's make some space, let's access our grace, let's bring a smile to our face. We have no other than our beautiful brother, Adam Roa.
A poetic intro, I love it. Thank you, Cyrus. Hi everyone. How's everybody doing? Good? Got the energy to receive my 15 minutes? Yeah. Thank you for putting on this event. Thank you, Mama Bali, all the Balinese, for creating this space and the openness for us to even be here and be welcomed in an event like this. And I've been listening to all the speakers because I always show up not really knowing what I'm going to talk about. And there's so much light here. There's so much love here. There's so many solutions. There's people who literally are mapping flow states and also describing technologies that are here and now that are capable of solving so many of the world's issues. And I feel a bit of a responsibility to also speak to the here and now of the shadow. Anyone who's spent enough time in Bali knows it comes up. And the truth is that I've been in depression. I've been battling depression for many months now. Just recently, through the help of 2 therapists, I actually put a name to it. And so I just want to give you some facts. And while I'm speaking, I'm going to do some check-ins with you. And the main thing is to pay attention to how it feels in your body. So as I give you these facts, I have depression, or have been diagnosed with depression according to the medical definition. I sometimes have suicidal thoughts. I sometimes feel like a fraud. I sometimes feel like I'll never break out of it because it runs in my family. Just pay attention to how that feels, to hear that. And would anyone like to share, how many of you feel connected to me? Anyone feel connected? Good. Great. And how many of you right now are feeling a deep right in this moment, a deep emotional experience? And please don't, be truthful about it. Great. And so now what I'm going to do is something that I don't think I've actually ever done before. It's really vulnerable for me. I'm going to read a poem that I haven't finished yet, that I've been writing in the space of this shadow as I sit with it. And it's funny because I have a poem that's gone viral that a lot of you have probably seen or heard. That's all about self-love, and I've been really struggling to find that for myself, and so I decided that I'm going to turn it into art. And what I'm here to talk about today is the technology of art, which I'll get into after this, where I share with you what I've been working on. And it's not done yet. I like to end everything in a nice bow, but can I have everyone take a nice deep inhale? Exhale. I had depression. I say had instead of have, because I have hope that one day it'll be the past. Nope, it won't last. I'll be free of its grasp. Cut the rope around my neck. I can finally gasp. Some fresh air, not depressed air. The best I've breathed in my life. I swear it's the best air. And new lease on life. Answer to all my prayers. I'm seeing love everywhere. I just stare like a Care Bear. Love being alive. Never thought I would get here. But then I feel it. That familiar tinge, a constriction around my heart. That's how it always begins. Board the windows, lock the doors, don't let it in. But resistance is futile. Depression is persistent. Knock, knock. Hello. Where did you think I would go? You and I are bound for eternity. I thought you would know. Cut our cord and you die. That's the end of the show. So, I'd rather I died than be tied to you for the rest of my life. Give me the rope, I'll tie the noose. Give me the pills I can abuse. Give me a knife I can use and finally choose. Cut me loose from this reality to which happiness seems like a dream. Embrace mortality might be selfish, but I'll know what pain-free finally means. Oh, my love. You think killing yourself would actually save you from me? From the cradle to the grave, this lifetime's all you can see. But beyond this one life, your soul and I keep on dancing, 'cause it's your soul that needs me most, and I give your soul safety. So you may hate me for the way it feels lately. You ungrateful little bitch, you should probably thank me. Thank you? For what? Keeping me stuck? Can't even get up without feeling kicked in the gut. Eyes terrified when they're wide open, and I tried keeping them both shut. Can't hide from you or deny the truth. You've got me tied up, but I'm done listening to you. I'll get you to shut up, even if it costs me my life. I no longer give a fuck. Go on. Kill yourself. I'm calling your bluff. We both know it's all show. Why are you acting so tough? You cried when you wrote this, felt hopeless, almost choked. It's one thing to wish you were strong, but don't know is if you've noticed, I'm the source of your strength. I'm the one protecting your heart, only one caring to start preparing you for when things fall apart. And they always do. You know it's true. Love doesn't last, but I'll never leave you. It's not done. I'd like to know, with a show of hands, how many of you are feeling really deeply now. You see, art is a technology. Art is a technology. And so while we talk about the solutions on this planet, and they're all based in love, and we talk about what is possible when we hold the embodiment of love and higher consciousness, what needs to be spoken about is most of this planet is incapable currently of accessing it because of trauma. There is trauma stored in their bodies from personal experience. Most of this world has experienced some form of sexual abuse. Add in physical abuse. Add in things like divorce. These things that become traumas in large part because we haven't been told how to properly process them. And so they store in the system. And I've been doing so much. I've been detoxing my physical body and heavy metals and parasites, and I've been seeing therapists and energy work and doing so many hours of research, watching YouTube videos and reading up on depression and trauma, because I was sexually abused at the age of 5, and I didn't remember it till later in life. And so, how do you process, right? How do you learn to process? And there's one of my therapists said something really amazing about depression. He said, depression is the result of an inability to access a deep level of sorrow and pain. Meaning that we can process, we can think we're processing it, and we're getting through like one of these amazing vegan mousse things that I can't eat because I'm detoxing, is like these layers and they're swept away, but there's this lower sediment of pain and trauma and sorrow that is inaccessible because people don't feel safe enough to access it. You see, what we allow ourselves to process through our system is what we feel safe enough to process. And so right now on this planet, what we have is people who do not feel safe enough to process, and therefore the deepest core wounds of our planet and this human race are not being accessed. And so it doesn't matter what we build on top of that. The foundation will always remain cracked until we find a way to address it. And there's something that I learned. I'm learning so much about this. I feel like I'm pretty much going to start speaking about trauma and healing depression and all these things. That's the way that this goes, but it's necessary, I think, it's my path currently. And something that I've learned is the reason why it hasn't worked for me over the years to fully feel like I'm free of this is because I've been approaching it looking for catharsis. Going down into Peru and working with the Shipibo tribes, going into Kambo, going into Iboga, like whatever it is, looking for a catalyst, looking for a cathartic moment. And the thing about trauma is that it comes in with that energy. It's imprinted in that violent, fast, quick way. And so when we try and heal it, when we try and remove it through that energy, we're just meeting it and it sends it into fight or flight. It shuts down, it boards the windows and locks the doors. You heal trauma, I'm learning, through titration. Titration, taken from Peter Levine, who's someone I'm learning a lot from right now, talks about titration. He borrowed it from chemistry. Chemistry is one of these things when you take like an acid and a base, and if you mix them together, they explode. But if you just take one drop at a time, if you take a drop, put it in, it fizzes, psst, and another drop, psst, and then eventually neutralizes. And so what we have as we work on our collective pain, our individual pain, our sorrow, our depression, whatever we want to call it, as we work on that, we get to go through it through titration, through gentleness, through consistency, and through safety. And that's where art comes in. Art is the permission slip to get people to feel. When someone walks into a movie theater, they are saying, I want to have an emotional experience. When someone turns on their favorite song, they are turning it on because it makes them feel something. Each one of you right now got to experience the difference between me giving you some facts and even a little bit of story, letting you feel my heart about what that did for you. You might have felt for me. But in the poem, without even having asked you directly, I know because it's what I believe to be absolutely empirically true about art. It gets you to feel. And there's so many ways, and I could talk for a long time about the reasons for this, including the projection of yourself onto the protagonist and all the other variables that go into why art is a technology. But understand that art predates pretty much all communication. In many ways, art, singing, like just making noises, was the first form of communication. We can look at the cave drawings, the hieroglyphs, we can look at this and realize art has been a part of human beings. It is in our DNA to receive it. It is an ancient technology. And if what we're here to do is actually help support humanity in breaking loose and breaking free and titrating their way out of the collective depression that so many people feel, which is evident based on the amount of society that has been built and continues to thrive based on numbing that pain. The foods, the alcohol, the sex, the drugs, the numbing that is all around us. Why? Because it's not malicious. It's because people don't know how to process the pain. They don't know how to process the trauma. So that safety, we get to create that, and the safety is in the art. So whatever you're designing, whatever it is that, if the fact that you're here, I believe that you have a big vision for this planet, and you have a voice, and it deserves to be heard. You're choosing out of all the things that you could do, you chose to be here. That says a lot. And so my encouragement above all else is for you, as you're going about your mission, are thinking about art, are thinking about the safe container that it creates and the necessity of that safe container to get people to feel all the things that they haven't wanted to feel. Because only when people are able to do that will we actually bring heaven onto earth. Will we actually be living in the golden age, the new paradigm, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm going to end with a poem. Many of you have probably heard, but the truth is I really need to hear it right now, so I'm going to say it. This poem is called You Are Who You've Been Looking For. Can I have everyone take a nice deep breath in and out? You are who you've been looking for. So stop looking for more unless you're looking in a mirror, because it's about time for you to see clearly that you are who you've been looking for. And that empty feeling you got, that hole in your chest, you only got that feeling because you think you're not blessed with everything you need. You see, we live in a consumerist society, which means they need you to buy stuff. And the easiest way to sell it is to tell you you're not enough. Buy this car, you'll get girls. Buy this bra, you'll get guys. And we're seeing it so much that we start believing these lies. But the truth is, the makeup they're selling to make you feel prettier is the same makeup you buy to stop feeling shittier about this lie they keep telling you that you are not enough. And what about the movies we watch, all the shows on TV? The more I watch, the more I see I need you to complete me. And yes, love is the answer, love is the key, but if you can't love yourself, how can you ever love me? And loving yourself, what does that even mean? Like massages and selfies and that sort of thing? Because the more I think about it, the more it feels weird. I've always thought that self-love was something to be feared. I was taught that arrogance is bad and vanity, it's not good. And even my bracelets are telling me to act how Jesus would. So what should I do? How should I act? I'm supposed to love myself, but how do I even do that? Well, I got a trick that I picked up from a friend who noticed that I was quick to defend her when she would say something negative about herself. She'd say, I'm so dumb, and I'd say, you're so brilliant. She'd say, I'm so weak, and I'd say, you're so resilient. And when she said, I feel ugly, and I said, you look beautiful, she asked me why I was so dutifully filling up her cup constantly, and yet treating my own cup so irresponsibly. Because when I looked in the mirror, my voice was quite clear. You're ugly, you're too thin, your hairline's receding, and you got a pimple on your chin. And that was when she gave me a piece of advice that changed my life. She gave me a hug. And she said, treat yourself like someone you love. Treat yourself like someone you love. Now, I had been standing, but I needed to be sitting because I couldn't believe that I had been letting myself keep forgetting that I was who I'd been looking for. And deep in my core, I knew it was time to stop looking for more until I could look through all my fear and look into a mirror and see clearly that the man looking back at me is the only one who can make me happy, and I am already enough. And I am not any more special or unique than you. That's why I'm here to speak to you. You are already enough. And when you start to see that, you will start to be that. Your world will get brighter, your load will get lighter, and you can see with life you can be a lover, not a fighter, and that life, you deserve it. Because you are worth it. And there's no point in letting yourself keep forgetting, because no matter what you say or do, you are perfect. And so today, I hope I leave you with a direction, correction, away from the flaws you see in your reflection. They aren't flaws to me, they are simply protection against all the doubts you have of your perfection. So start today. Take a good, long look in the mirror and say, I am who I've been looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for speaking up on behalf of something that we all feel, allowing us to own this, recognize it's part of the human condition, and we all share that. Yeah, like depression is just suppression, and to heal is to feel. And to feel is to reveal. So let's reveal in our groups, reveal in our pairs. Let's do it through speaking and through these shares. Oh, brother. Powerful stuff. Really feeling that quality of we are one, we are one. We are alone and we are all one. It's the same word, just stuck in a different way. And we're in Bali, so maybe we are Wayan. So I invite all of you to move it out, to shake it up, to take a deep breath, giving thanks to everybody who's shown up on stage. Giving thanks to yourself for part of this feedback loop that creates this consciousness, this conscious society.